Hello and thanks for joining me. I want to show you how to make a little something that will make the main element of these card sets just a little more interesting. For those of you that don't know, this is a wobbler in action. And now we'll get straight to it. To make your wobbler, you'll need a circle punch or a die, some beading wire, I use 26 gauge, some wire cutters, a pokey tool or even a needle, 2 squares of double-sided tape, some craft glue and a scrap of cardstock. You can use any colour for this. Firstly, I need to punch 4 circles out of the cardstock. I then need to pierce a small hole in 2 of those circles to put the wire through. The holes need to be roughly 1/4 in from the circle edge. To measure this, I lay my circle over the grid on my board and eyeball the placement of each hole. I repeat this for the second circle, and once I get the placement right, I make the holes larger by pushing the pokey tool through completely. Now the circles are ready, I need to make the spring. I wind the wire around the pokey tool lid, but you could always use a pen if you don't have this tool. I hold the wire firmly against the tool with my thumb and wind it around 4 times. I then cut the wire at the end of the last coil and trim any excess off the start of the coil as well. I've seen some on YouTube using scissors to cut their wire, but really I don't recommend this because the wire tends to damage the blades of your scissors. And now I'm ready to assemble my wobbler. Getting the alignment of the first circle correct is really important. I feed the wire through the hole I made in the circle and wind it around until the spring sits neatly in the centre of the circle. I like to spend a little time getting this just right because it helps make the rest of the assembly easy. Once I'm happy, I hold the wire in place firmly and flip it over. I bend the wire inwards and secure it in place with a small piece of double-sided tape. Cutting the tape in advance is really helpful at this point, as you can see. I then flip it back so I can straighten the spring up perfectly. The rest of the assembly is fairly easy from this point. I add my other circle with a hole onto the spring and move it to a point where I can line the 2 circles up without putting any pressure on that spring. I hold the wire in place and secure it with my second piece of double-sided tape. I could finish at this point, but if you look carefully, the wire leaves quite a lump on the outside of the wobbler. This will mark your topper and may be visible once the topper is attached. Adding another circle on the outside of the wobbler seals the wire in place and also stops it from being visible. I also don't trust the double-sided tape alone to hold this in place permanently. Once I've removed the backing paper from the tape, I add my wet glue around the edges. I add my extra circle, making sure all 3 circles are lined up before I press everything down firmly. I then open the spring up so I can press all of the areas of the circles together thoroughly. The double-sided tape will hold everything in place while the wet glue sets. As you can see, the extra circle layer covers the wire well. To finish off, I add my final circle over the remaining exposed wire. I remove the tape backing and add my glue. I add my circle, lining it up with the other 3, and press everything firmly into place. I open the spring once more and make sure everything is well secured. All I need to do now is press the circles back together and I have my completed wobbler. As you can see, they compress nicely so they'll fit into an envelope easily. And you can create them any size you want. This wobbler is made with 1-inch circles to suit a larger topper. Having them made of cardboard gives you the added advantage of being able to colour them to suit your card if you make them in advance. And now I can use my wobbler on a card. Once all assembled and dry, this is how both sets look, ready for lots of fun. Thanks so much for